Kylian Mbappé and Michael Olise. Honestly, name a more iconic World Cup duo. I can't think of any off the top of my head.
There's an argument to say they're the best two players on the planet right now. This team, if they go all the way, it could be Deschamps' kind of masterpiece.
What else can you possibly say about this French team? Before I hit record, I was just saying to you, and I think I'd like to put this on record, this job really is a privilege sometimes, because whilst I am sat in my living room and it is after midnight, the idea that I get paid to watch that and now chat to you about it is an absolute privilege. What a team. What a joy to watch this French team are. Winners against Sweden. I mean, Sweden, they weren't even that bad. France were just incredible, weren't they? Kylian Mbappé and Michael Olise. Honestly, name a more iconic World Cup duo. I can't think of any off the top of my head.
I mean, I think there's an argument to say they're the best two players on the planet right now. Lamine Yamal would be another one in that conversation, but he's been struggling with injury and he's not made that impact on the World Cup so far. But like Olise in particular, his rise is astonishing. It is astonishing. I think actually, like Bayern could well be braced to receive some offers this summer for him, because he's elevated his play to a whole new level, and it feels like the relationship between him and Mbappé is the key thing for France. I mean, we speak about a front four, and it's true because Barcola's pace, Dembele, we got a hat-trick the other day, like they're all like outstanding footballers, but the relationship they have, Mbappé and Olise, the number of passes they exchange, the way that Mbappé drops in and links play with Olise, and I think I was reading once he described him as clairvoyant. Like he clearly really, really loves playing with this guy, and it shows. And I mean, yeah, they were just an absolute joy to watch, and like terrifying. If you're a defender for any nation watching this, you're terrified because of the speed they do everything at, the speed that they take you on, the speed that their feet move, the speed that they interchange, and they can beat you in behind, or like the way that Mbappé completely bamboozled Gyökeres with that step over, drop of the shoulder and chop in the outside, all in one movement. Oh, dizzy, incredible. So yeah, it's hard to remember a team or a nation that is this heavy favourites as well. But France are way out in front.
Yeah, 6 goals at this tournament for Kylian Mbappé, now drawing level with Lionel Messi at the top of undoubtedly the greatest Golden Boot race in the history of World Cups. You've got to say, we're going to talk about Erling Haaland in a little bit. Michael Olise, though, 5 assists at this World Cup. Only Pelé with 6 in 1970 has done better in a single edition of the competition. Just a remarkable. I mean, it's the way he kind of slaloms and just meanders around the pitch as well, which is a little bit Messi-esque, I've got to say, in terms of just his positioning on the pitch. But when they click into gear and go, and as you say, the first goal was fantastic. I really enjoyed the fact that it came from a corner as well, because technically that's a different version of set piece FC, isn't it? You've got Olise, I think, Olise to Dembele to Mbappé. That's the most elite corner goal ever scored, isn't it?
And it was very simple, but it was, hugely effective. And that as I say, that the speed that he kind of went out inside Gyökeres just gave him no chance whatsoever. It was a remarkable passage of play. But on Olise again, the thing for me is the way he takes the ball in his stride. It's a thing of beauty. It's like you could get what looks like a very simple pass, maybe from Rabiot or someone, from midfield into those little pockets of space that he picks up, and he just takes it in his stride, and immediately he's bearing down on the opposition's defence, and then he's capable of doing something like nutmegging the Sweden defender to set up Barcola, or chopping outside and slipping it inside the defender to set up Mbappé. It's just, he's so decisive. I love watching him. I love watching him. I've loved his journey. Anyone who's a long-term listener to this podcast, we spoke about him when he was playing for Reading as a 18-year-old. Didn't see this coming, but I love his journey, and I love his sort of his aloofness as well. I think the French are really starting to kind of love that too. There was this whole kind of question mark about how good his French is, and Mbappe kind of laughed. Like he said, "You'll never know because he doesn't want to speak to you guys." So I think they're really all taken to him, and no wonder because he's making them tick.
Absolutely lovely. I sensed as well with that nutmeg one, he was waiting for the chance to nutmeg him. It was like he was doing it like five-a-side, like the really good guy at five-a-side who's an absolute torture to play against. Just for it. I mean,
his overhead kick.
Well.
I thought you mentioned his overhead
exactly.
kick.
I was going to come back to say that I, the other thing I was saying to you at the start is I honestly look at them and I've watched all their games. I still think they're playing in I'll give them second gear. And sometimes they click it up a gear. But overall, they still look like they're strolling at times. And in that first half, I honestly looked like they'd said, right, we're going to try and score a long-range worldie of some kind before we eventually try and score in the box. We've got this in the bag. Because Mbappe kept taking pot shots. I think Rabiot had a good one. Olise had a few. And then, I mean, as you say, that overhead kick, just ridiculous.
It was astonishing. Honestly. Astonishing. And
absolutely mad.
Also, a run from Barcola as well earlier in the half where he kind of he cut inside the right back and just took off. I think possibly Barcola's the fastest. Like it would be a great race. I'd love to see that from four just race each other. That'd be I'd pay handsomely to watch that. But Barcola just took off and he was going, and then I think it was Lager, the centre half for Sweden, and he basically stood him up and just did a drop of the shoulder and completely sent him for a hot dog, like just inside the box, and that opened up the channel of space for it to take it on his left foot, and he hit it over the bar. It was a disappointing end to the move, but that surge of speed as well is just terrifying. And you come to the whole conversation about how they can be stopped now, really, and it's hard to see, and you don't say that very often about a team. Like you think it'd be them kind of getting a bit arrogant or cocky or feeling that it was going to be easy. You don't sense that about them. They look like they're really, really determined as well. And it's Deschamps. It could be Deschamps' kind of masterpiece, because the teams that he's had before have not been masterpieces. They've been fairly turgid, fairly just effective, with a sprinkling of stardust that's often been Mbappe. This team, if they go all the way, will be his masterpiece.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd definitely watch the Last Dance version of documentary of this France at this tournament as well, especially if we get to see a bit behind the scenes with Michael Olise. You mentioned Deschamps there. I thought it was quite telling that Mbappe scores that first goal and runs over to the coach. Obviously, Deschamps lost his mum last week, and had been home back to France. You've got your captain, your superstar, your talisman, the great, the best player in the world probably at the moment, scores a goal and celebrates with his team, and then goes, no, I'm going to run to the coach to give him a hug. And then equally, as he's brought off, Deschamps is kind of bowing down to him. I mean, and on the commentary, Ali McCoy was laughing and going, Christ, I never had a manager do that to me. But you get the sense that it's not for ego, it's for actually like a bond between them. And that is quite remarkable from Deschamps to have done this for so long with this team. And it did make me wonder. I was just speaking to Martin Samuel, who's at this game and is writing a match report for us now that you can read on the Times website. I was talking to him about the idea that actually Deschamps gets the absolute best out of these players. Now, of course, Mbappe and Olise and Barcola and Dembele play brilliantly for their clubs, but I think the best I see Mbappe is in a French shirt. And then you think about players like Rabiot in midfield. Every time he plays for France, he looks like one of the best sitting midfielders in the game. And then he's played for his clubs before and he's been linked with all sorts of moves and it's never really happened. Deschamps has done, and yes, he's got amazing players, but it still takes brilliant management to manage them all equally and collectively, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And I think that moment, you're right, that was telling. And that's been the one fear or kind of unknown about this squad, is that, French squads historically too have been slightly combustible, and there are a lot of egos. Even the fact that Mbappe left PSG and Dembele became Ballon d'Or, won the Ballon d'Or, won back-to-back Champions Leagues. There's sort of like perhaps a bit of a potentially a threat to the hierarchy there, or upset the balance a bit. But every kind of word that's come out of Mbappe's mouth has been about the team and the collective. And on Deschamps, he clearly has done an outstanding job. He's been manager since 2012, I think, and won the World Cup. became, finalists as well. He has done an outstanding job, but there's always been a kind of sense that he's not made all the kind of riches at his disposal as kind of beautiful as they could be. there's always been a sense that the football has not been what it could be with this extraordinary generation, with a series of extraordinary generations, really, of French players. So for that to have changed so dramatically is pretty remarkable in itself, because Deschamps has always been renowned for being a pretty conservative coach, and having a team that's devastating on the counter-attack. And that's not what this team is. This team is dominating every single game so far. They still pose that threat on the counter-attack, and clearly there's going to be bigger challenges ahead. But I think he's recognised that I've got an extraordinarily talented group of attacking players. What we need is a solid foundation, and just let them shine.
They've scored at least 3 goals in each of their last 5 World Cup matches. That is the longest streak in the history of the competition for scoring that many goals in a game. I mean, you said, how can they stop? Can anyone stop them? Is there one team that you look at and think that'd be an interesting clash? We mapped out, obviously, on the Monday show, routes to the final. Could be a Spain semi-final. We obviously all predicted it could be a rerun of 4 years ago with Argentina in the final. Do you think either of those teams? I was pondering it before myself and thinking Spain would be interesting. Not conceded a goal yet. Obviously, they've got to get to that semi-final stage yet. Got a lot of players who can keep the ball and stop it from going to Olise and Mbappé. That might be an interesting clash. What do you think?
I mean, it'd be more than that. It'd be fascinating, yeah, because you're right. Spain would want to dominate the game as well, and they have been solid defensively so far. And Argentina, you feel like when you get into those late stages too, it would just be set up for the superstars to decide it. And that's Lionel Messi, and that's Kylian Mbappé, and now it's Michael Olise as well. So it would be decided on moments, and at the moment it's hard to see any team having more of those opportunities than France. But Argentina have been there and done it, and they've got a really experienced squad. As we've been discussing so far already, it feels very, very similar to the last World Cup in that everything is set up to assist Lionel Messi, basically, and they have a really solid, experienced foundation as well, and they can keep the ball, and they're all very experienced. So those two teams, they'll be mouthwatering clashes. But at the moment, it feels like if France didn't do this, they'd almost have let themselves down a little bit.
Yeah, well, they've got to get past Paraguay first on Saturday at 10 p.m. That'll be a fascinating clash of attack versus defence. And listen, France's defence is pretty tasty as well. I have a sneaking suspicion that we might be waxing lyrical about France again on this podcast, so we'll have to leave it there, Gregor.